A number of years ago, because I have to admit to you, and I guess Leah should have told you this as a warning, I am a lawyer. I have never handled a medical malpractice case. As a matter of fact, I'm dedicated to completely removing medical malpractice from the tort system, because malpractice in most cases isn't malpractice at all. It's mistake of a system. By the same token, about almost 7 years ago now, and Marty was there at SVU, and Lucian Leap was kind enough to come. I had a vision. I got on Art and Rant to put 10 leaders of healthcare in the same room with 10 of the most virulently successful medical malpractice attorneys you could find. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because I want to get to the question of apology, and to the question of full disclosure, and to the fear that somehow this is going to be a negative, because not everybody signed on to this yet. This preamble, the Leapfrog Group's policy on never events, is incredibly important, not just for what it says, and not just because it's Leapfrog, but because of what it embodies. But let me take you into that conference for just a minute. We had 3 days. I was told you're going to need whips and chairs to keep these people apart. I had a stellar panel on both sides. I had one guy who was a PhD, JD, MD. He was the only one I had to throw water on, if you remember. A wonderful guy, but he was getting a little exercise. Everybody else was pretty practically grounded, and we had a good collegial discussion, because I told him I don't want to hear anything that AMA says. I don't want to hear anything that American trial lawyers say. I want a bunch of Americans in the room with different backgrounds discussing whether there's any hope for this tort system, and I tightened it up a little more than that. I was the moderator of it. On the third day, on Tuesday, we started off on Sunday evening. On Tuesday, a fellow worth $800 million from suing doctors and hospitals, a gentleman named Frank Branson, stopped everything, leaned over the table, pointed at Lucian and said, "Lucian, everybody, let's stop for a second." He says, "I want to tell you something. I have not been in a room full of doctors for whom I had even a modicum of respect for the last 20 years, because you're always trying to lie to me. But," he says, "all of a sudden I realize, and all of us lawyers over here realize, that everybody in this room has the same thing in their hearts. We want to stop this carnage. We want to stop these things that end up coming into our office that are so egregious that you just want to cry first. People have been injured. People have been killed. It didn't have to happen. It wasn't bad doctors. It's bad systems in most cases. But I'm going to tell you how to put me out of business." And we all laughed. He says, "No, I'm serious. I'm going to tell you, I don't have any concerns that you're actually going to do this stuff, but I'm going to tell you how to put me out of business." And he says, "Okay, point number one, don't ever lie to me again. I employ docs and nurses and computer experts, and if you change one thing with a pencil, I'm going to find it out, and I'm going to put you in front of the jury, and they're going to want to kill you. So don't ever lie to me. That's stupid to do that. Be on the side of the angel." Secondly, if there's a best practice, in QF, put it in their book, somebody came up with it, and it's widely known, the hospital didn't have to adopt it, and you don't, you're in trouble. I may have you. I'm not sure, but I probably do. But here's the big one. He says, if you think that anything happened negatively that might in any remote way be a result of a mistake, run, don't walk. Run to the family. Run to the victim if he's still alive or she's still alive. Tell them everything. Hold their hand. Be humane. Do exactly what you would want done with your family, and tell them, more than anything else, we dedicate this institution and all of us to never letting this happen to anybody again. And we're all kind of quiet. And he says, let me tell you something. He says 92%. I just saw Frank the other day, and a couple of months ago, and I reinforced this, make sure I still had it right. 92% of all the cases that have made me rich would have never walked into my office or that of any other lawyer if there'd just been an apology, if there'd just been an admission. Of course, an attorney's on the side of protecting hospitals. Oh God, an admission. Well, as a matter of fact, most in-house attorneys are now beginning to understand that this is true. And they're beginning to advise their clients, not shut up, shut up, shut up, but go talk, go talk, go talk. It is the best prophylaxis you can come up with. And yet we still have people who aren't doing it. When we get to this, and I don't mean to read down this thing, but inside the cover of your program, the second one, after apologize and report the event, apologize, number one, in any form whatsoever. And of course, training is appropriate. It's appropriate to train somebody not to get hysterical and come in and choke up or come in and yell, I'm sorry, I killed your mother. I mean, you want to do it in an appropriate way, but the fact is, we have to reconnect, and this is another thing that I wanted to really say here, we have to reconnect every practitioner in healthcare with the humanity of healthcare, because that's what it's all about. We have tried for 150 years to disconnect not just healthcare, but every institution really in human life, especially in our pragmatic United States, from the reality that it's a human system. We even in the 30s and the 40s had a thing called Taylorism that was trying to make automatons out of human beings. It didn't work. It might work for ants, but it doesn't work for people. Bell Labs did a lot of great work and experiments on how to maximize productivity, but they took into account the fact that people get tired, they get distracted, they get upset. And when they do, and they get fatigued, they don't operate as well as when they are in a better status. But we have tried for 150 years to dehumanize our institutions. And we have got to learn that the pathway to not only patient safety, but the pathway to a quality, happy place to work, which was the model that we put together in that book, comes from understanding the humanity involved. This is why I say to CEOs, Kathleen and I both, you've got probably 20% of your middle managers who need to go away. Maybe you could retrain some of them. Most of them are not fit for duty because they are not able to take care of the humanity that they're entrusted with. They're sitting in their offices shuffling paper. They may be wonderful people, but they're not suited for that kind of job. You should see the looks we get back, and yet we know we're right. In most cases, it's higher than that. We have to reinvent this and make a system out of it. It is the best of times because it's an opportunity to do something that's never been done before.